Everyone, welcome to Manufacturing Hub. Live real time. This is day two of day two of ProveIt. We have a bunch of coverage of Manufacturing Hub has a bunch of coverage at ProveIt. First, we want to thank Walker, you, and the enormous and amazing team for having Vlad and I and giving us this amazing space, probably best space we've ever had.
That's awesome.
It will now be like the bare minimum that we judge everyone against, and I know a lot of people who are going to be upset about that because of how awesome this space is. So,
I appreciate you guys being here, really, man. Seriously.
Absolutely. We'll get into ProveIt in just a moment. I do want to let everyone know we're a little bit early. Manufacturing Hub. Vlad and I are on every Wednesday at 4 o'clock East Coast time, 1 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Central European time for all of our European viewers. There's always like 4 or 5 of them, which is pretty cool. We are here having fun. We are asking questions. We're going to do our best to go bring in any live questions. So if you guys are watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, which is where most of you are going to be, we've got questions coming in. We'll do our best to answer. We are super tight on time, especially with Walker. Honestly, I'm shocked that we have a whole 50 minutes to go talk live on the internet.
I told the team to make sure they set the side of time.
Absolutely.
You guys took the trouble to come out here. I want to make sure that you ask every question you need to have asked. Yes.
Oh, no, you don't. I guarantee you don't want to say that. No, not every question. We have a hard limit. We cannot be here Thursday at midnight still asking questions. Okay. We'd probably have people watching, but we can't. So, Walker, I guess if people have somehow stumbled onto the internet for the first time, if they don't know who you are, if they don't know what ProveIt is, can you maybe give a little bit of background of you, the amazing work that you've been doing, and this fantastic conference that we're at?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I'm Walker Reynolds. I'm the president and solutions architect at 4.0 Solutions, a company that I own. I was a former integrator. I actually just sold my integrator, Intelligent Integration, last September to the employees. I've been in industrial automation and Industry 4 for the better part of 25 years. I've been doing digital transformation primarily since 2008. Spent the first 10 years of my career working for the end user in mining, printing, steel industry, and tier 1 automotive. And then I moved into consulting. People started listening to me after I won an Ignition Firebrand Award in 2012 or 13. I can't remember which year. We built the largest standalone SCADA system in the world using Ignition, working with Kepware and inductive automation on actually building new features for their platforms. So if you know of the Kepware API that was actually developed for the client that we built the largest standalone SCADA system in the world, inductive automation built the gateway area network for that project. UDTs were added in version 7.7 as part of that project. So people really started kind of listening then. I started my integrator in 2015, and we started working on some of the most incredible projects in the world. I mean, I've worked for, you name a really digitally advanced company in the world, and I've been involved in architecture with them. 2018, we started shooting YouTube videos because at Intellic we started seeing, I mean, you guys already know this, but all customers were making the same mistakes in the first 18 months. And I really was just shooting videos on what is IIoT, what is digital transformation, stop getting this stuff wrong. And it blew up into this huge community. We started a Discord, 4.0 Solutions and IIoT.University, which is where I'm at now. And I teach a big mastermind program every month. And we do workshops and vendor training, and we do enterprise training for end users, teaching their employees what digital transformation all is. We've been doing that since 2020. We have a big Discord server, the Industry 4 Discord server. I think we have 7,000 members now, 8,000 members. We're one of the community servers on Discord. We have 15,000 students at IoT.University, and our social media covers about 100,000 unique individuals. We're pretty big on LinkedIn as well.
Absolutely.
ProveIt. Where does it come from? It's a concept that I want to give Zach Scriven credit here. You know, Zach is the one who said to me 3-4 years ago, he's like, by the way, Zach comes up with some of the greatest ideas in the world. I always say this all the time. You know, 1 out of every 3 ideas he comes up with is groundbreaking.
Yes.
And 2 of them, you got to keep him from implementing. Otherwise, he's going to drive us off a cliff. You know, it's like one of those. He came up with this idea, community conference. And last year, I wrote a proposal, I put it together, I budgeted it, I looked at it, and I said, we'll do this one day. But let's kind of play it, and let's see what happens. And last year at Hanover Messe, I had a meeting. Sam Tiara, shout out to Sam, set up a meeting with Todd Edmonds, who's the I think he's the chief operating officer of Smart Manufacturing, Global Smart Manufacturing for Dell. And we got to see Dell Native Edge, which is a groundbreaking infrastructure management platform that Dell came out with, that they actually are really showcasing at this show. But Todd said, hey, listen, if you guys are ever him and Ryan Fournier said, if you guys are ever interested in doing a show in Texas, we got you.
Yeah.
And he didn't know that we had ever considered it. And so I came back from Hanover Messe, and I looked at that proposal again, and I prayed about it, and talked to my financial advisor, and I'm like, let's do this. And so starting in June of last year, we said, we're going to put on the ProveIt Conference 2025. And here's ProveIt. We have a virtual factory that we have built. There's a server rack that's out. It's not built. It's a copy of an actual manufacturing facility located here in Dallas, Texas, one of Intellic's clients. We have a cloud and local infrastructure that are bridged and clustered together using HiveMQ, MQTT Broker. Phenomenal implementation. This is the first time I've done HiveMQ at this type of distribution. So I've never actually done local bridging with HiveMQ. I've always done horizontal clustering, and we've done some enormous implementations with Hive. But I learned a lot about some really incredible features in HiveMQ's broker that made this infrastructure possible. But at the end of the day, we have 36 vendors here, 18 of which who are presenting on stage, who are given 16 weeks. They were given a specification document and access to the unified namespace from this virtual factory. All 36 of those vendors, they came up with a problem statement. They came up with a solution. They built that solution. They quantified how long it took, how much it cost total, and they are presenting it in 30 minutes and then doing 15 minutes of Q&A, and they're being compared against each other. And
I love that. There's definitely more to talk about. I just want to say thank you for putting them up on stage and making them answer those questions. Yes, thank you for putting them up on stage. Thank you for having Amy and Jeff on stage as the MCs with the strict instructions of do not let these people leave without answering those questions. And I think in the initial vendor comment, you said some of them were like uncomfortable with those questions. And man, they're absolutely like, knowing the vendors that I know, which is probably only about 2/3 of them like that is absolutely a loaded question for so many of them.
It depends. Right?
It depends.
We need to have a conversation.
Absolutely. Like call us for pricing, right? And I appreciate the ones that are saying, hey, the solution, the application, the software costs X, and it took 3 days, or it took 120 hours, or something like that. And then you can go quantify what an hourly rate is. I feel like it's almost unfair. Like one person could say it's $50 an hour. One person can say it's $400 an hour. No one's going to say it's $400 an hour when you're asked to go show that number. So I love that. I love the fact that they're up there. I love the fact that they're on stage. I love the fact that people get to go ask those questions. I think Vlad and I from the very beginning talked about the concept. Amazing. Vlad has talked about it. We've done a couple of live builds. The thing that I've always told Vlad, and I tell anyone looking to do this, is you have no idea the amount of time you're going to invest in it. Like, I can only imagine you and the team are like thousands of hours each into what this is to get us here today.
I have spent I'm not afraid to share what it costs, and we're a transparent organization. So we didn't lose money. I mean, we lost money if you count the labor my employees put in and the team put in. But capital-wise, we actually profited on the show, and we have money to carry over to next year's show. We have 36 sponsors that are broken down into title, gold, silver, and bronze. The title and gold, they all present on stage. There are a couple of silver who are presenting on stage as well, and then you have all the bronze. They're in the exhibit hall. Everybody's got a booth, but the bronze are in the exhibit hall, and their presentations are being filmed. We have 3 camera crews coming through and filming their presentations. Big shout out to Jeff Winter and Amy Williams, who accepted the invite to come and be the MCs. We have a Dell stage. We have a Google stage. Google is the other title sponsor. And Amy's on the Google stage. Jeff Winter's on the Dell stage. They have complete control of that vendor once that vendor steps on the stage. And their instruction is make sure that they followed the rules that are in the document and make sure they answer the 4 questions. Other than that, let them rip.
Walker, I wanted to bring this back really briefly to your background, right? Before we dive in more into the conference. And the typical question that I always like to ask is, how did you get into manufacturing and industrial automation? But ultimately, you've given us that information. So I wanted to change that question a little bit and ask you, what made you stay in industrial automation? Because I think if I was completely frank with you, a lot of other industries are poaching some of the best architects, some of the best engineers. So what kept you going all these years?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So and I'm going to try and answer it briefly. So I grew up in upstate New York in the 1980s when manufacturing did its mass exodus from the Rust Belt.
Yep.
I, like most people, believe that it was due to corporate greed, that it was they were chasing cheap labor. I saw the impact that the manufacturing moving away from the Northeast had on communities and families. When I went to college in the 90s, I discovered, no, it actually wasn't greed. That wasn't the primary reason. The primary reason was that when the third industrial revolution happened in 1969 and the PLC was invented, Germany and Japan adopted the technology first, and they got ahead of our core manufacturing verticals here in the United States, specifically automotive. If you looked at the supply chain in automotive, it was something like at one point 31% of all industry could be traced directly to automotive in the United States. So in order for American companies to survive, they had to offshore to chase cheap labor while they tried to catch up technologically. All right, fast forward, my first job out of college, I got a job working in a salt mine. I had a certification in basic electronics. I get introduced to automation. And I had realized when I was in college that a fourth industrial revolution would happen. Moore's law tells us, we know that this will happen, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're in the fifth industrial revolution now, although there's a debate. I don't think there's a debate. I think AI is the fifth industrial revolution, generative AI, not just artificial intelligence in general. And I said, when Industry 4 happens, that'll be my opportunity to help revitalize manufacturing in the United States and save and create middle-class jobs. And honestly, I'll be straight with you. I believe God put me in a very specific place in 2020, introduced me to automation, and showed me my path. So I went back to school, became a double E, and then I literally built my first unified namespace in 2005 using Microsoft Excel, Data Highway Plus, Dynamic Data Exchange is how I built the first UNS, and I built it in a salt mine in upstate New York. The reason I haven't given up, I've done it again and again and again. I've done it as a consultant and working for the end user, and it's the architecture I've used my entire career and just have mastered it. When I was introduced to Arlen in 2014, and he did that presentation at ICC in 2014, and MQTT became the protocol upon which UNS started being built. That started happening in 2014. Up until 2014, it was a whole host of other protocols that we were using. However, every time I've someone's asked me that question, I've said, this is my calling. My path to helping save and create middle-class jobs in the U.S. to build up the middle class is through manufacturing. So I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I guess, how did you, for me, again, I love the industry, right? I think a lot of people are swayed maybe by the financial state of other, I want to say, industries, but ultimately, look, I think we have really smart people. I had a really long conversation with Brian, right, who's one of the systems integrators exhibiting, and I think he's really pushing not only because of like financial incentives, but also because of what's coming into the future. So really smart people, I think, making really good decisions and driving what I think was the foundation of the North American market. And ultimately, I really resonate with that vision.
Yeah, so, Brian Pryby of Mock Controls, by the way, he's working with Trent Christopher from, is it 4.0 Hero is the name of his company?
Hero, yes.
And then Dustin Symes' company out of Alberta, I think it's JLP Solutions.
I think it's JPI. I
don't
know.
There you go.
Dustin's going to be really upset. He gave me a hat. I should be wearing the hat right now, Dustin. I apologize.
So the three of them work together on the Mock Controls booth, which, by the way, is incredible. They did a absolutely phenomenal job. And I actually made a point in my keynote to say, if you better go check out Mock Controls, what they did. And Brian Pryby, he is the chairman of our advisory board for the Industry 4 community. He's all in, a wonderful guy. I love him to death.
And if we can just shout out Brian and what those guys did, what I love of what they did is it's the first, 12 to 16 weeks of what you should do, how you should go through the process of collecting data. We have a ton of amazing solutions. Here, we've got people talking about in the industrial data ops, we're talking about at huge scale, huge enterprise. We've got people on the integrator side showing the best things that they've ever put together, cherry picking the best solutions and what that looks like. And we've got 4 guys, 5 guys over there in that booth doing the down and dirty work. And at least we know that is the hard part.
Right. They're doing the part that's most important during that first 12 to 16
100%.
weeks. So, for example, for those of you who are listening, I got a special treat for you. You can go to my LinkedIn right now.
Okay.
The latest post I just put on there, I dropped a link in that post. It is actually access to a HTML5 dashboard that Tatsoft developed.
Okay.
That is actually integrated directly to the live Virtual Factory Unified Namespace right now. So you can go and click on that link. It'll launch in a web browser, and you'll be able to navigate the unified namespace in real time. You're going to be able to see all the namespaces that all 36 vendors are publishing back in. We have a touch screen over here at the show, but you'll be able to see if you look at the underlying data model, which is Enterprise, Dallas, and then Press, Lamb, Slit, and Bag. That's what they were given. They were given that underlying core unified namespace, which was the virtual factory. And then all of the other namespaces house the data that they generated for their proofs of concept. The ProveIt is they are building a POC that is representative of a typical 12 to 16 week proof of concept for this manufacturer. So think about what happened here. The people who own the plant that we're using this virtual factory for, they actually are here.
Yes.
And they're able to see.
That is amazing. I didn't realize until you had mentioned that they're like here sitting next to you or here somewhere in the audience.
No one knows. They don't want anyone to know who they are.
Yeah.
They're watching
silent judges. Are they gonna
They're watching every single presentation.
Yeah.
And they're going to every single booth.
Yep.
And essentially what all these vendors are doing is auditioning for a project in their plant using their real data. Now, the data has been abstracted. All the IP has been extracted out of it. But the raw events, the structure, like the raw events from the machine, from the motion controls, those are all real. I mean, the job jacket number is real. All that stuff's real, but it's everything. There's no intellectual property in the namespace.
Absolutely. I guess a couple of comments for the people who aren't here. And I was telling Walker we're a little bit early. I don't know how many people are going to be on. And he's like, yeah, there are 700 people who would probably be watching live, but they're all here walking around. We do have Courtney Fernandez and Zach Scriven. Those guys are in the comments. Hey, guys, come and wave like live in the booth. Just go stick your hand over or something like that. So I would say, to the Tatsoft point, we just had him here. We weren't live, but we just had him here. And I think it was Mark had his laptop open and he was going and clicking through. He's like, and this is the Litmus demo, and this is the Rexroth demo, and this is a couple of others. And I can just easily go ahead and pop in and go do all of those things. That is absolutely amazing. And to the and for the vendors next year, let me just briefly recap. I haven't seen a lot of the presentations because we've been here and we've been talking to everyone. Tulip had an amazing. I guess I'll be honest, Walker. I wasn't surprised at all because I've seen Eric at Ops Calling, and I know exactly what to expect. And it was 100%. Like it was better put together and articulated than what I expected. But there are probably half to 2/3 of these vendors that I expect bare minimum they're going to knock it out of the park. And if they don't knock it out of the park, it's a disappointment. So those guys did an amazing job. And I think you made the comment of those guys are going to be here to go talk about what those interfaces and dashboards look like.
In fact, the client told us and everybody that what Tulip showed us is something we need.
Yes.
And they want to have a conversation.
100%.
And I mean, and if you think about it, I will say this, Mark, is it Friedman or Freeman?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know Mark personally.
All right. So Mark is the developer at Tulip who built the demo. Eric Marindet I think he's the officer in charge of product development now, right?
I think something
he's a big
like
wig.
That,
And Eric's Eric's the guy Eric and Mark both get it, and
Yeah.
and Natan Linder, who is the CEO and the founder, he gets it. Operations Calling You, which you already referred to, is one of my favorite conferences. They've done it 2 years. I've had a chance to speak both times, and it's a phenomenal show. Operations Calling was the first show I ever went to where the vendors were connected together.
100%. I loved that. That was fantastic. I was there for the first one. You and I saw each other at the first one, and I'm like, this is going to be something special.
That's a great idea.
I need to be here. Yes.
And so we took that idea and we changed it. We modified it and said, well, we're going to have them connected together. So they had a rule where you had to be connected to at least one other vendor.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so what we said was we're going to connect all the vendors together.
Yes.
On one common infrastructure. Our virtual factory sits in the ballroom. You know what I mean? Like everyone gets to see it on the floor, and it's clustered in the cloud. And we're doing 50 million messages an hour right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think it's something like 3,600 connections.
Yeah.
So we got 3,600 connections in the virtual factory, 50 million messages. Yeah. And Hybim queues running like nothing.
It is. I love the balancing. I've talked to a couple of vendors that they have done some amount of insight on-prem and cloud balancing for a variety of reasons to make sure that there were going to be no bog downs during their live presentations. But I am, again, shocked in an impressively good way how good everything is, how good everything is working. Yeah. Going in, you've seen them. You've seen the development. Yeah. I wasn't sure. I told Vlad, I'm like, Vlad, it's going to be amazing because I don't really know what to expect. I know a bunch of these guys are going to deliver something amazing, but you don't know until you show up.
Well, let's make no mistake. There are vendors here who dropped the ball.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way around it. Obviously, they paid to be here, so I'm not going to. What I have told the audience is, here's my assessment.
Yep.
And you and I are in agreement. 20 of them just slayed it.
Yep.
20 of the 36 slayed it. Another 10 did an excellent job. Yep. So another 10 are great to excellent.
Yes.
And then 4 to 6 are, they're going to feel embarrassed when the show is done.
Yep.
And I think that's a good distribution. I think if everybody hit a home run, we made it way too easy.
I agree.
We made it way too easy if everybody hit a home run. And we made it hard on them. I mean, just because a vendor has egg on their face doesn't mean that they're that they have shitty products. We made it hard. I mean, we did make it hard on them. But I had conversations with, Arlen Nipper and Jeff Nepper, the guys at Flow, and, Travis Cox and everybody, the guys that have been like in that core, they've been in the crew for the last 10 years, 12 years. This is old hat for them. It's this was easy. It's like, it wasn't that hard. But we have to be honest, the market has evolved in the last 4 years, and you got players here at this show that we wouldn't have described as industry 4 players 4 years ago.
Absolutely.
Right. And so kudos to them that they signed up for this challenge. We had to turn away 40 vendors. We had 76 vendors who wanted to sponsor. We had 36 spots. We had 35 spots. We added Google at the end because we wanted Google from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we just couldn't connect with Google Cloud. And then they reached out. And by the way, Google did a mind-blowing presentation. They really did. But it landed really soft because of the way it was presented.
Yes, and that's what I've told people. Is that you can have the hardcore nerdiest engineers, you can have the best solution, but you have 20 to 30 minutes, right? You need to go articulate that. And I think we'll have people who do amazing things that will be judged better or worse based upon their presentation.
Their delivery, exactly.
Which is another part of what I love, right? Like they're in front of 700 people who are the harshest critics in the entire world.
By the way, I said that. I said, listen, some of you do not know this audience.
Yes.
And believe me, they are not. We have a polling system.
Yeah.
So,
those are tough questions. Like the questions that they want to ask the vendors, like very good questions. Like the ones I've seen are very good questions. But man, that is you're sitting in a director level, you're sitting in with a top engineer, and they're just hammering you with the most technical or uncomfortable questions humanly possible.
And you're able to ask the question anonymously.
Yes.
So you have there's 800 and
there's still votes, right?
I know there's 600 and there's 687 attendees right now. We have 747 people on the floor, including all the staff and everything. So you have 600 people in every presentation. Because at any given time, we got 80 out here in the booths and stuff. All right. there's a QR code that they scan,
Yeah.
the audience scans, and then they're able to ask questions, and then the MC comes up during the Q&A.
Yeah.
And based on how people upvote questions, the MC has to answer the top voted question. And they are tough questions. They are questions, for example, like, when do I use Mosquito Pro? Tell me why I should use Mosquito Pro and not HiveMQ.
Yep.
And they're asking Philip from Sadalo to say why it is you should use his product and not the competitors.
Absolutely.
Everybody's asking him, how are you better than Ignition or Hive?
Yes.
Like, these are tough questions they're having to answer in front of everybody, and the MC is not letting them off the hook.
No, and you shouldn't. Like, if you're going to get up on the stage, and anyone who's going to get up on the stage next year should know, I mean, the questions are going to get harder next year, right? Well, like, people are going to do more research. People are going to know the products and the competitors. They're going to be like, oh, I can force these guys to say what are the pluses and minuses against, your 2 or 3 direct competitors who are sitting out here and maybe haven't gone yet. Absolutely. No, I love the questions. This is what we need. This is the better than the best version that I could have hoped for this conference.
And let me ask you that question. You guys obviously I had expectations showing up, and just so we lay it out here, this is my vision. I put up the money.
Yep.
I articulated the vision, and then I basically said, anything over $250,000 I have to approve. So any individual line item, any individual line item over $250K, I have to approve.
Yep.
And then I wrote all the technical documents. I built the infrastructure. I tested the vendors.
Yes.
But my team, led by Tanya, who's my, one of our, my ex-wife, and she's actually the conference director.
She's killing it.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't have to tell anyone that, anyone who's here, but Tanya is absolutely killing it.
So, and she has a huge team around her. I mean, I think there are some 60 people in support.
Oh yeah.
We had a steering committee that Flow Software was part of. That Jeff Nepper was a member of that steering committee. That it represented the vendors. When I got here, I didn't know. I knew the layout. I had seen an overview. That's it. I didn't know anything. Okay, so I had my own expectations. You guys had your own expectations. Be honest. What were your thoughts when you first got here?
Tough question. So I guess I'll take that first.
I was going to say Vlad go first. Otherwise, Walker and Dave are just going to go back and forth.
Look, I think obviously the venue is great, right? I think there's nothing to be said about the venue, about the setup. I think that the main emphasis of UNS and about ProveIt is around data, right? So I think for me, architecture was sort of the cornerstone of the presentations, right? And I was going to say that to continue the train of thought of the previous comments. For me, real data is extremely important, right? I don't want to see a vendor create a virtual factory that is perfect, that is spitting out data on a very regular interval. So to me, I want to see as an end user, do you know the pain points that I'm actually experiencing, right? It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be organized the way you want. It's going to be across different systems in different formats. So to me, the vendors need to come in with a way to understand the data first and foremost, right? So analyze the data, look at it, and then figure out how your solution fits into that data, right? Not into a simulated environment that they've put into the UNS and then reabsorbed back to themselves. And then ultimately all the questions that you've asked, right? How much does it cost? What is the labor? Like, I want full transparency in order to compare apples to apples.
And some people have done a good job.
Yes. And some didn't, right? And again, you get different comments, right? And I will give them some leeway, right? Because if I'm a hardware provider,
Vlad's nicer than I am. I would not.
Well, it's difficult to showcase something like a PLC absorbing MES type of data, right? I think you can get very creative, but that creativity starts to blur that line. Whereas, like, you're creating data from a factory that you've simulated multiple times and just kind of reabsorbing it. So I think on that side, I really like the fact that you've cracked the whip on them, and I haven't seen it behind the stage. But ultimately, that's what I think the community is looking to see. And in order to make that comparison, I feel like that's the only way.
Okay.
Absolutely. No, I think that's good. I've got some answers before we do. We've got some folks in the comments. As I said, Courtney, Zach, we've got Yuri and John saying they're walking in, and Bravo Walker. We've got a LinkedIn user who I can't see because of preferences saying, could we say so far HiveMQ is the winner with Pulse? And Allison from Hive is saying, thank you, Nick, right? Favorite comment of the day. My comment is the people here in the community are winners, right? Like,
absolutely.
The people here who get to go watch this, everyone at home who gets to go watch the video recaps, and like, we're the winners. everyone can go decide if you don't know Hive and suddenly HiveMQ is that much better. For me, I think some of my feelings, as I said earlier, are a bit tempered because I know so many of the vendors, because I sit in so many of these things, because I love the technology and apparently spend an awful lot of time looking at different technologies, so I don't have to go build everything from scratch. So from that, I think everyone here are winners.
And I would say this: has every presentation blown me away? No, absolutely not. We have been very organic.
Yep.
I mean, I literally, there's 600 people in that room. It's an enormous ballroom. We have 3 screens, 2 stages. It is impressive. It's kind of overwhelming when you walk in there and you're like, whoa, this is big time. The production quality, we have a producer, stage manager, the whole, because I'm the keynote, I guess I'm lucky I get to carry a mic and I get to just ask questions of the vendors when they're on stage. So when I'm in the audience, I can just turn a mic on and ask them a question. I'll sidetrack them, and we're doing it organically, and I'm speaking on behalf of the audience before they ask their questions through the app. And I want to highlight 2 presentations specifically, but that doesn't mean that I think these are the only 2 great ones, because I haven't seen a bad presentation yet.
Agreed.
I haven't seen the bad one on stage yet. I have seen bad at a booth. Okay, in a bronze. But there are 2 that just absolutely stand out. I'll go in no particular order. Let's start with Concept Reply and Snowflake. Remus Pop absolutely fucking slayed it, dude. Absolutely slayed his presentation. Really demonstrated the power of Snowflake's AI capabilities. He was totally transparent in his pricing. Exactly the number of man hours. He actually line itemed the man hours, and then he actually broke out his actual cloud costs. $660 something total, all in for the solution that was on the screen. The customer knew, if I want that, it's going to cost me $57K in capital and $600 a month in. And if
That's what I want to see. I don't want to see a website. Go see the website.
And the function was incredible. I mean, he just built a completely functional. Basically, he was using a data management platform in Snowflake, and then I can't remember Snowflake's AI product. I don't remember all the names, but it basically captures the stream, and then you can ask for industrial insights on the data stream in using natural language. Very, very impressive presentation. Actually, I'm going to give 3. Number 2, obviously Tulip. Tulip. I mean, if you were going to score these on a scale of 1 to 5, Remus got a 5. Tulip got a 5. I came in on the Tulip. If you guys, I came in and gave my feedback on Tulip during their podcast. So, and I would say the third one, Litmus, really. We've had a couple of amazing product announcements. They've dropped new products here. Litmus dropped a new product here that was like a whoa. Was like a big whoa in terms of the nuts and bolts of it. Is they have a new AI tool inside of Litmus Edge that essentially can do advanced reasoning through function blocks. So I can go condition into a function block, advanced reasoning. And you can give it an instruction. I want you to find the lowest asset with the worst OEE where it ran greater than 8 hours. And then from that result set, pass it to another function block that's going to do additional advanced reasoning with AI. And the implication was that when I looked at that, I said, this right here is the beginning of us taking SOPs, which are administrative controls. Those are human beings having to oversee, ensure that another human being does what's in the standard operating procedure manual. And we're able to convert that from administrative control to an engineering control. We can actually use, so we can go from a 60% success rate that they're going to follow this procedure to a 99.9999% because we're using artificial intelligence to execute the procedure. We're not asking the human being. It's absolutely overwhelming. There are 3 really mind blowers. I would say those 5. Google Cloud's presentation did a very similar, but showing you, walking you through the process of how you really leverage generative AI with industrial data and using the data in the virtual factory. So when they said which press has the lowest OEE, if anybody's asking that question, it's all returning the same press, because what we did was we recorded the plant. We literally recorded the live data for 1 hour, The plant just plays over and over and over again for 1 hour at a time in the broker and in the database. And it's always press 103. So if it gives you an answer that's other than press 103, then we know that the chatbot didn't work right. So
Absolutely.
there have been some incredible presentations. I think Dell Native Edge really wowed some people. Litmus really wowed some people because they showed how to do enterprise deployment.
Absolutely.
So they actually said, we're going to assume this plant's already done. So the problem this customer has is they have a facility in Austin.
Yes.
And we're going to deploy to their new facility in Austin what's already here in Dallas in the virtual factory. And they nailed it. They actually did, I think, three plants, right?
I'm surprised they only stopped at 3.
Me too.
So knowing the team as well as I do, and I've known them for 3 years, maybe 4 years at this point, I'm surprised they stopped at 3. Someone must have come in and said, no, guys, we can't go any further than this. But no. Of those, the ones you said that just knocked it out of the park, those are definitely on my list of I expect some of the best presentations, right? And I think I've told it to
especially Litmus and Tulip. If they had under delivered, it would have been a shock.
No, I agree. Knowing Dave McMorrin, who was up there, and Vatsal, and knowing the product team over at Litmus, those guys must be. I say it all the time. Vish and Parth must be the hardest working guys. I don't even know how they sleep.
I don't think Parth does.
So funny side tangent, and then I will go tell you my thoughts. I was out at their San Jose office end of August, beginning of September. They had just released Litmus UNS. I think that was a Parth. Vish was talking about a whole bunch of drivers that he was building and like putting onto a for free or for very limited amount of money to go add it in. And I'm like, yeah, Vish, you must have dozens of drivers. Walker, I'm pretty sure he had like north of 1,000, and I have never insulted someone and like their entire extended family as I did when I said that to Vish. And again, my man, I apologize for thinking that you slept for the previous 6 months and you're not just building drivers and going through manuals to build drivers. So no, I expect like absolute perfection from all of those, just knowing those guys as well as I do. And I basically told us to all of their faces.
And their storytelling is incredible.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'll give you before you give your feedback, I'll give you 2 pieces of it. I'll tell you 2 things that I've been telling every vendor. Yeah. I've spent time walking around trying to spend, it's been overwhelming. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, I nearly teared up in my keynote. My voice cracked. I threw my presentation out the night before, and then I riffed a 90 minute to 2 hour keynote.
Yep.
Straight from the heart. And I feel like this is the culmination of my life's work. But let me make something perfectly clear. Like, the community did this. You already touched on it, and I'm not playing lip service to this.
Yeah.
Without the community, I'm just a guy with a big mouth and an opinion, right? I mean, that's it. I mean,
sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah, it's the community. I say, people say all the time, Walker, how did you build such a huge following? And I say, honestly, I'm just myself. Zach asks me really good questions. And I say things that other people think.
Yep.
That's it. And it's not, I'm making them think what I say. I'm saying the thing they already think, because the number one thing that people are saying is, I came across your videos and I'm like, this is a guy who gets it.
Yep.
They weren't like, oh, this is a guy who convinced me I should do this.
Oh, 100%.
It's like, I already thought this. So the community members are like, I already thought this. It's just, he may have put it in a way that I understood clearer. You know how many community members? I had the 14th person now tell me that they took vacation.
Oh, wow.
Bought their own ticket.
Yep.
Their own airfare. They're to pay for their own hotel to come to this show, because there's no way they're missing. 3 of them are from different countries. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, so we'll say 2 countries. New Zealand and Sweden.
Wow.
Yes.
Those are long flights.
And Puerto Rico, and then 13 people total.
Honestly, for me, that's been also a huge selling point of the conference, right? And I cannot stress this enough. If you go somewhere else, right, and you talk to the executives attending, a lot of times you will get the comment of, well, my company sent me here and I'm just like looking around. That is not the case here. Every single person that I've talked to wants to learn, wants to understand the solution. So maybe to throw a complicated question at you, Walker, maybe what kind of feedback are you getting for some of those end users looking at those presentations, maybe a little bit early at the stage, but ultimately have they made a decision? Are they telling you, hey, this is significantly better? Like, what are their takeaways? The conference is for them, right?
Really good question. So on Monday, so the conference started yesterday, Tuesday. Monday, I I spoke to the vendors we did rehearsals all day.
Yep.
And I spoke with the vendors first, and I told the vendors, I can't believe I'm saying, if you are unhappy, I don't care.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
he did say that. We were there. He did say that.
I said, I do not care. Okay. My team is going to care. I do not care.
Yep.
Excuse me. I only care about the end users in this room.
Yep.
So when the end users are here, if they're unhappy, then I care.
Yep.
If 90% of the end users walk away from here and they say, holy crap, this was valuable. I know something way more today than I did on Thursday night than I did on Tuesday, then this is a win. We have 63% end users. That is unheard of. It's actually normally 60-40, 40% end users, 60% other.
Yep.
We have 63% end users. Of the 500 official tickets we sold, 413 of those are end users.
Wow.
Think about that. 87, 413. And then we have additional, there's 680 something, 689 attendees total. Yeah. And we sold overflow tickets. Yeah. 500 was our goal, and we went all the way to 689.
Yeah. Well, and I guess for everyone at home, you said that we are 3 people below the legal max, right?
Yeah, so that including the staff. We are not allowed to have more than 750 people.
Yes.
And we have 747.
And I think you made that comment on Monday and or Tuesday. Yeah. And some people say they've sold out a conference. This is a fire marshal is going to come start kicking people out.
Yes, it is. I mean, make no mistake about it. It was overwhelming when you go in there and you go, there's exactly enough chairs in here for every person at the show. That's it. There's not an extra chair.
Absolutely.
So, and we have some video shots. If you look at them, it's crazy. I mean,
it is crazy.
It's insane, and they're rapt attention.
Yes.
So this morning, I actually polled the end users who were in the room. First thing when I introduced Sandy Laura, who was speaking. And shout out to Sandy, who gave a great keynote this morning on stress management. Emma Roloff, who talked about change management yesterday. Shout out to Emma Roloff, and a big shout out to Amy Williams and Jeff Winter. They've been invaluable as the MCs of the show. There's a whole host of other people I'd love to thank. I asked them on a scale of 1 to 5 how valuable was yesterday, and I'm going to say 90% held up 5. Yeah. And then I said, scale of 1, who did a 4, and it was 10% did a 4. There was 1 3. And so I walked up to that guy and I said, hey, what is there anything we could do better? And he said, oh, the show's great. It's beautiful. Yeah, everything's incredible. He said, but I'm disappointed that there aren't enough people here sharing enterprise class solutions. And when I ask them about their customers, they don't tell me. And I go, okay, well, I said, well, there's a reason for that. Number one, when enterprise class customers who have digitally transformed and have yielded, 60x return on their investments, that is a competitive advantage. And almost always they don't let you talk about it. So what I suggested is, if you want to hear about the big boys, the big projects, then you go talk to the individual vendors one-on-one and tell them you're willing to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that they can talk frankly with you. And I promise you, they'll do that, and they'll show you the goods. But the reason we're not doing enterprise here, so our infrastructure is enterprise class. Make no mistake about it. We're doing 50 million messages, cluster, bridging, the whole deal. And we've got 36 different companies all integrated to the same infrastructure. And we haven't had the infrastructure go down yet, knock on wood. But this is all about the first 12 to 16 weeks. Our goal was, you're going to do a proof of concept, not you're scaling across the enterprise. You're looking at an infrastructure and you're going, what can I achieve in 12 to 16 weeks of time? They got the documents on October 28th. And then I intentionally put hurdles up. I gave them the database late. Why? Because the customer sometimes gives you the database late. We gave them good data and bad data. Does the customer ever give you 100% good data?
I'm just happy when the customer gives me data.
Yeah, just you have data.
Data to start is better than most.
I need to go get the data.
Yeah. So we simulated. We didn't simulate it. This is real production data. Okay, but the issue is this client has had a UNS for 6 years. Their OEE is 88%. So there aren't a whole lot of problems I got to have solved. Right at 6 years. So we had to create some.
Mhm.
So what we did was we manipulated the data a little bit, but by recording them when they had an asset down. So we had some assets that were down, which drove the OEE down.
Yep.
And then we intentionally wanted them to fix specific issues within that 1 hour window.
Mhm.
All the feedback has been phenomenal. When I told them, hey, it's 12 to 16 weeks, we're going to do something bigger next year. Next year, the whole show will be centered around phase one
Mhm.
of a production engagement. So
Yep.
that's
Ooh,
the
okay.
thing that happens after the proof of concept.
Mhm.
And so that's when we start getting into enterprise scale.
Yep.
You'll see something bigger next year. So
I was going to ask you that exact question, right?
Yeah.
So maybe like, what are some of the takeaways? I know that you mentioned in 2 weeks you were going to start working on the next conference.
Yeah.
So that is already, I'm assuming, confirmed. Could you maybe give us a little bit more details as you think about that?
it is 99% confirmed. Here, is there an outside chance that we wouldn't do a show next year? I'm sure there in some universe it's possible. The feedback has been overwhelming.
Mhm.
I mean, and you know, I'm not here to promote the show. I'm here to educate. I'm here to, for those of you who couldn't make it, I'm here to educate.
Absolutely.
The feedback has been simply overwhelming.
Mhm.
It's moved me to the core. It has humbled me in a way I haven't been humbled in a very long time. Here's what we want to do next year.
Mhm.
So some things that we would do differently. We had a network infrastructure day on Sunday.
Yep.
So that was us here with the venue putting in the virtual factory.
Mhm.
We were here all day long doing that, testing the network, the whole deal. I mean, literally, we're the core.
Mhm.
So the venue, Weston Galleria,
Yeah.
I am piped directly to the fiber core.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the network that all the vendors are on is the local network I am passing via a dry LAN back to the venue. And the Wi-Fi is going back to our core.
Mhm.
That is, you don't see that at a conference. You're on the venue's network.
Mhm.
I would honestly almost want to eliminate the architecture of the conference center, right? I would be worried.
Agreed.
about
I mean, that's
about
what they
them more
basically
than
did,
anything else,
right?
yes.
It's
Yeah,
basically
as much
what we
as they
did,
can, yes.
and we're connected to two fiber cores, so they have two different service providers here at the venue. It was one of the criteria for us to select them because we have the balancers running in the cloud infrastructure, and then we have the local broker running. So we have our plant broker running here. We have our enterprise broker in the cloud. They're clustered in the cloud, and there's a load balancer in front of them, and then we have a bridge between our local broker and the balancer. So
Absolutely.
if something is published at the enterprise level, it shows up at the plant. If something's published here at the virtual factory, it goes actually up to the enterprise as well. Here's what we'd like to do. What we would have done, we did network Sunday, we did vendor setup on Monday. The show is yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Yep.
Yesterday was the longest day of the show. We didn't get out of here until what, 8:15, 8:30?
That was earlier than we saw you and said goodbye last
Yeah,
night.
the fireside chat. We were done with the fireside chat at 7:45, 8 o'clock. That was, by the way, phenomenal discussion. Shout out to Jonathan Wise and Matt Paris and Arlen Nipper and Jeff Nepper, who emceed, and I was the other one on the panel. That was an incredible conversation on standards. But yesterday was a really long day. What we would have done is would have had Monday an exhibit day.
So Monday was kind of an exhibit day for us. We were here on Monday while the vendors were setting up. We had no plans to go hang out other than to check out the booth and make sure all the setup was good. We were here for 10 hours. It was a very long first day for us, and honestly, 100% it was fantastic. I loved it. Kind of a couple of my comments of feedback, and I'm going to give you very similar feedback that I gave to like Maddie and the ops calling folks first time around. Is the only negative I have is there's no way I could do everything, right? And that was Maddie. That was her comment. Her goal for Ops Calling 1 was we want to give you too many things to do that you're never bored and you always want to come back for more. And even if we weren't here podcasting, there would be like 3 times as many things to do as there were hours in the day. So the only negative feedback is that everything is too good and I want to do too much. But overall, I was blown away. Coming in, it didn't feel like it was the first time you guys had done an event.
And that's the predominant feedback we've gotten, that really goes to the team. It goes to the steering committee. It goes to Tanya, Tanya's leadership. I think the team are going to take her on vacation after.
Will she want to see them after this?
I mean, I can tell you. I'm not surprised. This is kind of her thing. She's done huge huge events
Yep.
like this before, but never a conference.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
she just took what these other huge events she's planned, and she used those same skills here. That was actually an advantage for us.
Mm-hmm.
So there were things that we did
Mm-hmm.
that the vendors have told us this is the best show they've ever been to themselves, and
Absolutely.
the treatment that we've given
Mhm.
them. So we paid for all their electricity.
Yep.
We paid for all of their internet
Mhm.
access. They were shocked. They couldn't believe that was included
Yeah.
in their sponsorship, because apparently at shows they got to pay for electricity and internet separately.
That stuff gets
And the
really
tables.
expensive
We
really
want a table.
fast.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
expensive,
Yeah.
very fast.
And we didn't. That was all covered by
Yep.
the ProveIt show.
Mhm.
Everybody has said it's been phenomenal. The big thing, talking to the vendors,
Mhm.
are they getting business opportunities here? You bet your ass. And they all said, and the word I keep hearing is fully qualified leads.
Absolutely.
That's what they're saying. Fully qualified leads. People are coming here. They already know my product. They're
Mhm.
not kicking the tires.
Yep.
They've gone like a menu out here,
Yes.
and they've gone, all right, watch the presentation. I want that thing and that thing and that thing.
Yep.
Let's talk business.
Yep. They're
That's
here
what's
to find solutions,
Yeah.
to find people who can help them. Or the third bucket I've gotten are people just confirming that what they've built
Yeah.
and architected is the right
A
build,
lot
is
of
the right
people,
architecture.
have waited to start some new initiative
Mhm.
because they want to confirm what they planned. Just
Absolutely.
like you said,
Absolutely.
at this show.
And,
Yeah.
and I've had so many awesome conversations. And if anyone is listening and is here, if I can help you, if I can help introduce you to someone, if I can help direct you in whichever direction you need to go, I am always happy to go ahead and give that help. Again, I'm just so happy that there are so many people here.
Yeah.
I love talking about the hard problems, and there are almost only hard problems here on the vendor side.
Only a couple of vendors, I think, picked easy problems.
Yeah.
There were a couple that were easy that
Yeah.
I thought, man, you could have done,
Mhm.
but only a couple. The vast majority actually have gone way above and beyond. I think, 2/3 for sure of what I've seen. Back to your point, though, I wanted to answer what to do different next year.
Mhm.
We're 99% we're doing this,
Yep.
and we'll plan in 2 weeks. We'll announce it.
Mhm.
We'll do a debrief with all the vendors and all that jazz. Dell and Google. I have to give a shout out to the title sponsors.
Absolutely.
Dell and Google. So Dell Smart Manufacturing, led
Mhm.
by Todd Edmonds.
Mhm.
That includes the group that does Dell Native Edge.
Yep.
Invaluable partners.
Mhm.
I mean, I cannot overstate how incredible that group, led by Todd and Ryan Fournier, have been.
Mhm.
They are all in on this. They believe in what ProveIt is all about.
Absolutely.
Number 2, Google Cloud. I mean, come on. This is our first conference, and Google signs on to be a title sponsor.
100%.
I mean, and they asked to be. We didn't go to them. They
Yeah.
called us and said, we want to be a title sponsor with you guys. And that's a testament to the community.
Absolutely.
They have been invaluable. And what they showed, Dave Pugh showed yesterday on stage, has the implications reverberate across the entire industry,
Mhm.
like that whole workflow. And we're going to post a select number of presentations will be posted
Yes.
publicly.
Mhm.
Anybody who attended here is going to get all the recordings from every presentation. So if they missed one,
Good.
you're gonna get a recording. Any attendee is going to get all the recordings. So what will we do next year?
If
We're gonna-
first, if I can just also thank
Yeah.
Dell and GCP. I love seeing you guys at US shows. I see you so much in 2,000 square meter, 20,000 square foot booths all over Europe, where you guys you're huge, right? You've got all of your solutions. Thank you guys for coming here to a US based show. I mean, this show in particular, but US shows. I definitely want to see more of you guys, because I know the community wants to see more of your solutions. Like before this, I knew a bit about Dell on that side, mostly on the infrastructure, mostly on the IoT side. But like, if I hadn't been at Hanover, if I hadn't been at these major Euro shows, you just don't see that. So I'm really happy to see them coming, and I hope this is like the beginning of more of that in the future.
So next year we'll go, and I agree with you 100%. We're going to go 4 days. Okay. 4 days for sure. 3 days is it's just not enough. We need 4 days where one of the days could be a little shorter.
Yes.
I mean, yesterday was a very long day. It was worth it, but it was a long day.
100%.
50 vendors. We have 36 here. We had 76 requests to be here.
Yep.
And we only allowed 36. We'll go 50 vendors, and we'll cap the attendees at 1,000.
Yeah.
So we're going to go bigger next year. Probably same time of year. I mean, I don't see a reason to change the time of year. It kind of works.
Yep.
I really think we should do this before Hanover. I think
100%,
it should be before Hanover. And there was one other thing I wanted to. I wanted to answer a question. The infrastructure. So I would be remiss. The virtual factory infrastructure is made up of HiveMQ, enterprise class, Portainer. Without Portainer, this wasn't possible. I mean, Portainer is how we are managing all the infrastructure. It's how all the simulators and the OPC server and all that stuff. I mean, we wrote the OPC server that we're using. Okay, so Portainer is a core element. Obviously, Ignition is a critical component in our infrastructure. HiByte is a critical component in our infrastructure. So those four things play the biggest role in our infrastructure. HiveMQ obviously being the core.
Yes,
being the core. And they announced Pulse, which probably the biggest announcement of the whole show.
Absolutely.
I mean, literally, it's like, hey, world, HiveMQ is going into data management, and the broker's just going to be a data feeder into data management. Pulse is our future.
Yes.
That's a huge announcement.
That is a huge announcement.
Huge announcement.
That is, we will have to go talk some more about them. Walker, we're already over on time. We're already over on time. I guess I want to say Vlad and I are super happy to be here.
Any questions in the chat that we want to?
We've got a ton of comments in the chat, mostly just thanking you, thanking everyone, shouting out Hive. Sasha's in the comments. Sasha, I hope Toronto is warmer than Dallas. It's a little cold here in Dallas. For the shout outs to the No Sleep team of Vish and Parth over at Litmus. Absolutely. I'm sure there are other things. We will get back to you guys on other questions, comments. We'll go ahead and be sure to tag everything that we can possibly tag in here. Walker, before I ask if you've got any kind of final thoughts, of course, you're always welcome to be here on the show. We're always happy to have you. I feel like we see you all the time, but trying to find schedules or 90 minutes to go log us down.
I've reached out a few times.
Yeah, Dave and I always, Dave and I, so a little known fact, I don't actually manage my LinkedIn DMs.
That's not a surprise at all.
So if you ever want, Instagram is the best place to DM me directly, or
you probably shouldn't tell people.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't tell you.
Now we won't be doing those accounts either,
because I'm the only one who manages those. It's my it's my personal X and Instagram. There's a team that does all the other social media because as you guys are probably aware, 100%. I couldn't possibly answer all the messages I get from LinkedIn. Or from YouTube comments, or email. I don't even manage my own email anymore. I will say this: Dave and I are every year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year. We're at the exact same show. Get invited to the exact same show, and it's always like, hey, brother, we need to do a podcast together.
Absolutely.
It's like every show we're like, we need to do a podcast. So on the first day, we're like, you guys want to do a podcast together? It's like, yes, let's do it. We've been saying do this.
Absolutely. No. And I feel we only get each other to say hi, and then I don't see you for the rest of the show.
It's always the mixer.
It is always the mixer.
It is always the mixer. They bring us to the mixer. We get to see each other, and then I don't know if you guys know how, but when they invite us to these shows, they bring us to go to the mixer, really, and then to commentate and give press, basically. But the mixer is where it's kind of a way of everyone getting a chance to have a conversation with us. So we get to talk to each other for 5 minutes. Before we wander around and take photos and shake hands with everybody. So,
absolutely. No. And so again, we're super happy to have you. You've always got an open mic with us.
Thank you.
As I told you last night privately, and as I'll say publicly, we absolutely would love to come back and be a bigger part of ProveIt 2.
100%. We will have you guys back.
And whatever that becomes into the future. Again, I think it's so important here. So important for the community. And again, it's somehow even better than my biggest expectations could be.
And the automation ladies are here too, right?
They are. Nikki and Allie and Courtney. I saw all of them. Courtney was in the comments. I don't know where I said come and say hi while we're live, but the automation ladies are here.
Yeah, I did comment on Nikki Gonzalez's post. I was like, hey, thank you for being here. I want to make sure I do get a chance to talk to them and say thank you to them. And by the way, thank you very much. I really appreciate all the feedback. The show's been profound, but honestly, this is a community show, and I'm going to part with this piece. One of the things that I was really worried about was that this was going to be like the Walker show. And we talked internally as a team. We don't want it to be the Walker show. Yes, we recognize that we leveraged my brand to get the vendors here. Right. However, we wanted this to be a community show.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to put this show on again next year, 99.9%. But then what we think we want to do is over the course of the next year, make this a community entity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the ProveIt Conference community entity, take the Industry 4 advisory board, put them in charge of the conference and have a subcommittee in charge of the conference, and then turn ownership of the conference over to the community.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let me ask you maybe a question on that side. If someone's hearing that message and wants to get a bit more involved or is interested to contribute in any way from the community, how would they do it?
the best way to do it is through the Discord server. Join the Discord server, and then there is a chat in there for the ProveIt Conference for the community. And just jump in and say, hey, I want to get involved. If let's say you don't want to be involved in the community conference, but what you do want to do is be involved as an advisory board member. There is a whole other channel inside of the Discord server. Believe me, we have a vibrant community in the Discord server. I made the comment. This is how we know the industry has changed. When we created the Discord server in 2020, Zach and I answered 95% of any Industry 4 question that came in, especially anything about UNS. I barely ever answer one of those questions now.
That's amazing.
You know, Mark O'Donovan, you name it, Rick Bellata, Matt Paris. There's so many names, community members who have taken the baton and have become experts in this architecture and in these strategies. And that is by far the most rewarding piece.
Absolutely.
Surprised not to see Rick here. That's
He was supposed to be here. He was actually supposed to be on the panel. He had to go on a ski trip that his wife absolutely did not allow him to back out of.
I think we've all been there.
Yes,
exactly. we have all been there.
It makes him a smart guy.
Yes, I was going to say definitely the right choice on Rick's part. Everyone, thank you guys so much for being here. This could go on for 10 hours. There is so many other amazing things to do. There are a couple of sessions later today. If you're at the show, I'm super excited to see Maintain X. I'm super excited to see Siemens. I've told the Siemens WinCC team.
Siemens is going to blow it out of the park.
I have told the OA team I'm so happy to see them here. I haven't seen them in the States in like 6 years. I'm so happy to see them here. Very excited. I think, Walker, you and I might be like two of the non-Austrians or non-Siemens employees who know what Siemens WinCC is.
That's right.
And are excited. And I said I was excited. They're like, yeah, Walker's excited. And I'm like, of course he is.
Oh, I'm absolutely excited.
So I am super excited to see this. Until next time, guys, come check us out. Feel free to comment. We will be here. We will be doing all of these things. Come say hi to us in person. If we don't see you, we'll be back next Wednesday live, 4 o'clock East Coast time. Until next time, we'll see everyone soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.